welcome to Kodesh Gardens. I want to go ahead and give you all an update on what we're doing. This right here is our tomato area where we're going to be planting our tomatoes at. The white cups they're all organized into different types of tomatoes. We have Roma tomatoes, we have the big round tomatoes, we have cherry tomatoes, and actually I have more tomatoes than this. This is just all I have up right this moment. But I want to give you all a short update and show you all what I'm doing. What I've done in the past when I planted tomatoes is I've always planted my tomatoes in, and I have always tied them onto a stake. Some people tie their tomatoes onto a stake so they don't fall, and others put them in like a round tomato cage that you can buy from the store. But what I did was I went ahead and combined a stake and a cage together. Now let me first off say that this is not my invention. I actually found this online. Someone else did it and I thought it was a great idea and just copied it. And I will post a link to show you all what it is, you know, how it works. But anyway, basically what it is just a 1 by 2 by 8 foot piece of wood. It's very inexpensive. It's about $1.20 something cents for an 8 foot. And what we did was just cut it in half. So we had 4 foot posts, and we just cut it at an angle at a point so that it'll be easier to go into the ground. The ground is soft now, so it's not a problem. But if you put it at an angle, it's just going to, be easier. And then what I did was we bought a roll of fencing, and it's just very light, very flexible. You can bend it. And I think a roll of 50 feet was probably $25, and we didn't even use a whole roll yet, so it's really not very much. And then what we did was we just stapled the fence to the post. Now the size of what I did here is I think it's 18 inches wide by 24 inches long. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to explain to you all what we're going to do. What I did was, and I'm going to put this in the ground here, and I'm going to show you all. What you do basically, and I'm going to do this as a sample, is you put your tomato in the ground and you tie it to the stake. And then as it begins to grow, your leaves will begin to spread. And to keep that from falling over, which has happened to me a lot of times, what you just do is just basically tie it to one of these pieces of fencing as it begins to grow taller. And that's going to hold everything up. It's going to keep your tomatoes from falling off, from breaking at the stems. You do all that hard work and then they break. And so it's just going to be a lot easier. The reason why I think this is probably better than the round circular tomato cages is this. It's because the round circular tomato cages, you have the whole tomato inside of the cage. And if you're trying to get in and get your hand to get a tomato out of that cage, then the problem you're going to have is, for example, if the tomato fell on the ground, you're going to have a hard time wiggling your hand through the fence. Your hand might be too big to get through the holes. So it's just really kind of awkward to work with. And this is just very flat. So you just grab it right off and it's no big deal. What I did was I planted my tomatoes probably about, a couple of feet apart. And that's going to give it enough room to grow. So I want to go ahead and show you all an example. And I'm going to plant one of my tomatoes for you so that you can kind of see just how simple it is. Come follow me. All right. Right here is an example of, I have an Amish paste. And all these tomatoes that you see are all the ones that I planted from a seed. And so you see kind of how it's just totally grown out of this cup. So it's totally overdue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to dig a big hole. Let me put my gloves on real quick. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically dig a hole, if I can get it open. Uh-oh. Looks like my thing's about ready to bend. All right, so I have my straw, and I will explain to you all in another video that of how I'm doing my garden. This year I'm going to be doing a no tilling garden, where I'm not tilling my garden up, but I'm covering the area with straw and dirt to keep back on weeds, and it's just a lot easier, I think. But like I said, this is going to be my first year doing it. Okay, so I got a hole. When you plant your tomato plant, what you want to do, okay, here's all the roots, okay, and you want to plant it in the ground just like this. You want to go ahead and make the hole fairly deep, because the deeper it is, the stronger the root stem is going to be. You do not want this to break. So you want the ball to be pretty deep into the ground. So just give me a couple minutes and I'll make this hole just a little bit deeper. And let's see, can you get closer so that they can see how deep this hole is? Okay, there's the stick, and then this is how deep it is. And you want to make it pretty deep. All right, so I'm gonna probably do a tomato in a container for those that don't have a garden but want to do like a tomato in a bucket. I'll probably do one of those as well. Okay, so you can kind of see how deep this is now inside of the ground, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break this up, cover this back up with the dirt. We're going to kind of compact it pretty good so it doesn't fall over, you know. All right, now if I didn't have a stake or a cage, it's not going to stand up at all. So basically what I did was I just cut me a couple of strings of yarn. Doesn't have to be very big, and you want to cut it and you want to tie your plant very loosely around the stick. That way it's going to have room. You're not going to break it, and it's also going to have room to, you know, as it grows, it's going to go, you know, have enough room to grow up. So what I'm going to do is just going to tie this around. Try not to, you know, break the leaves or anything like that. I don't know if you all can see that. All right. Okay, and then that's basically it. And then what I'm going to do, stay right there, I'll be right back. Just get some water. And I'm just going to pour some water in this area right where I planted it, so that it gets plenty of water, okay? So that's pretty much all you need to do for all of the tomatoes. It's just put a big hole in the ground, make sure that the root ball is deep into the ground, and then you cover it up, and then tie a couple of strings depending on how tall your plant is, and then just kind of, you know, keep an eye on it and come out here every now and then sometimes. And then what's going to happen is, as it grows, you can kind of see these leaves are going to start spreading. They're going to start sprouting more stems, and you're going to start getting tomatoes on, which is going to cause the stems and the branches to become heavy, and it's going to break if you don't tie it up. So that's why we have these little sections. You can tie it, make sure, and then as it grows up, you shouldn't have a problem with it falling over and breaking. And then when you're done for the year, just pull these up, stack them in a corner somewhere if you have a shed or garage or wherever, and you can use them again for the next year. So that's pretty much it. Like I say, you want to make sure that your wood is untreated. You don't want any chemicals leaching into the ground where you're going to be planting your tomatoes at. So that's it for right now. And if you all have any questions, comments, please go ahead and put them in the bottom, and please subscribe. We hope we learned a lot, and thank you for sharing. Shalom.